Hallelujah.
Amy, could I get you to pass those note sheets out? If somebody would like a note sheet this morning, put your hand up and the dog will drop one on your plate. Jim, if I could ask you and Richard to bring up the offering plates this morning, we'll pick up the tithes and offerings. Scott, if you have a song for us at the end of the service, that would be fantastic. How about How Great Thou Art? Yeah. No. Hallelujah. We have been so greatly blessed. So this morning, as we're taking up the offerings, if you're visiting with us this morning, please do not feel like you have to do it. Okay, our God meets our needs out of His riches and glory. But at the same time, if you have made this your church home, we would ask you to help support it so that we can continue to meet the obligations, the missions, and other things we are doing. So let's pray. Father, this morning, as we get back to you, we give you praise for the fact that you are the one who gave us first. When we were still steeped in sin, you sent your Son as the greatest offering of all. We give back today, Lord, our gratitude for that in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you as you do. Last week, I spoke on the greatest treasure that we can have, which is the love of God. And to really know that love, God has to reveal it to you. No preacher can make you understand it. Believe me, we would love to be able to, but it's not in our ability. No DVD can reveal it to you, even if you have to pay $49.95 for shipping and handling. No class at school can open your eyes to this. It is a revelation that only God can reveal, and it is, I hope, one that all of us are eternally grateful for. As I've been watching and praying, I'm beginning to get to know some of the folks that walk around the lake or sit at the lake at a certain time of day, because that's when I've been walking and praying. God has been challenging me, and He's been convicting me. You see, our God is faithful, and He never changes. And as I've reflected on that last fact, the fact that He never changes, I remember the discussion I had a number of years ago with a man who firmly believed that God did, in fact, change. He agreed that Jesus revealed a loving and merciful God in the New Testament. But he was adamant that God acted differently in the Old Testament. He could not see how a loving God could be revealed in the pages of the Old Testament. Now, I have to admit, I shook my head at him at the time. But I've heard others hint at the same thing since then. How can you say that God is loving when He threatened to wipe out numerous nations? How can you say that God is loving when He ordered the elimination of everyone in the city of Jericho? Very honestly, these questions reveal an ignorance, not an understanding of what love is. Because love includes discipline. And it even includes punishment. Love includes boundaries and repercussions when those boundaries are crossed. Love includes setting in place safety rules and danger zones. Love includes a God who pursues His people even when they cross those lines in the hope that they will turn back to Him. I remember when I was 5, my family and I went camping. And some of you probably remember those old metal camping fireplace boxes that the campgrounds used to have, with a flat griddle on top. My parents told me, don't touch, it's hot. And I looked at them and I went, with both hands, right up against the fireplace. I am beginning to get feeling back, heat sensation back in my hands now. That's 38 years later. But for the longest of times, I can remember when I was in youth group as a teenager, we'd go camping down at Bowness Park in Calgary, and one of my friends would drop a hot dog in the fire, and I'd just reach in and grab it. Didn't bother me. I burned my hand. I couldn't feel it. Which wasn't a bad thing when I worked at a restaurant. I also was a dishwasher. And I can remember taking the plates right out of that hot dishwasher and taking them back to the waitresses, and they'd drop the stack because, well, they're hot. I hadn't given them any time to cool off, but I couldn't tell if they were hot. I was just trying to get my job done quickly. But God has established things like pain in our bodies as boundaries so that we recognize that something is wrong. I want you to listen to what Jeremiah chapter 2 says in verses 1 to 3. It says, "The word of the Lord came to me. Go and proclaim in the hearing of Jerusalem. This is what the Lord says. I remember the devotion of your youth. How as a bride you loved me and followed me through the wilderness, through a land not sown. Israel was holy to the Lord, the first fruits of his harvest. All who devoured her were held guilty, and disaster overtook them, declares the Lord." God loved Israel as a groom loves his bride. He loved her, and she followed him. And when people threatened her, he stood up and protected her like any groom would. This is the love that the Lord shared with his people. But something happened. That passionate love relationship didn't last. In verses 5 to 8, Jeremiah says this, "What fault did your ancestors find in me that they strayed so far from me? They followed worthless idols and became worthless themselves. They did not ask, 'Where is the Lord who brought us up out of Egypt and led us through the barren wilderness, through a land of deserts and ravines, a land of drought and utter darkness, a land where no one travels and no one lives? I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and its rich produce, but you came and you defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable.' The priests didn't ask, 'Where is the Lord?' Those who deal with the law did not know me. The leaders rebelled against me. The prophets prophesied by Baal, following worthless idols." Can you hear the heart of God in this passage? But more importantly, can you hear the hurt in this passage? God's heart was breaking because his people, his beautiful bride, who once loved and followed him, who were now cheating on him with other gods. "What fault did your fathers find in me?" Do you recognize the irony here? The God who knows all things was asking to be enlightened. He did not know why they had turned away from him. Like a spouse who has caught the other in adultery, God was crying out, "What did I do to deserve this? What did I not do to make you look to another for your affection?" He had given them a good land. He had rescued them from slavery. He had protected them from their enemies. He provided for their needs. How had he failed them? What had he failed to give them? In verse 9 he says, "Therefore I bring charges against you, declares the Lord, and I will bring charges against your children's children." And in this one little statement, God reveals three things. He reveals, number one, that his bride had been unfaithful previously. Number two, he had loved his bride in spite of her adultery. And the third thing it reveals is that love does not turn a blind eye to sin. You see, it's bad enough that God's beloved had turned to another source of comfort and affection. But in verses 10 and 11, God calls out, "Cross over the coast of Cyprus and look. Send to Kedar and observe closely. See if there has ever been anything like this. Has a nation ever changed its gods? Yet they're not gods at all. But my people have exchanged their glorious God for worthless idols." Israel had not even turned from the Lord to another real God. Can you understand this? This bride had exchanged her loving, faithful, protective, and generous groom for a cartoon character. Can you imagine going to a wedding where the groom walks down the aisle in her dress, her flowers, bridesmaids, flower girls, comes up to the front, there's a cardboard cutout? Can you imagine how ridiculous that would be? Everybody would be going, "Okay, what's the joke? Where's the punchline? Now, where's the real groom? Oh no, this is the groom. I don't know about you, but I'd be getting up and walking out. And I'd be taking my gift with me. But that's exactly what Israel was doing. She was in love with a work of fiction. And in verse 12, God says, "Be appalled at this, you heavens, and shudder with great horror." Now, do you remember in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, where it says, "We are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses"? Some of these are the angelic host. And here, God is calling them to stand as observers, as witnesses to the horrific choice that Israel was making. I want you to take a look at this next picture. And imagine the hosts of heaven standing and staring at Israel as they're making this choice. It's a picture of the hosts of heaven standing there with their mouths agape in disgust at the worthless choice that God's people were making. You're choosing that over Him? You're choosing them over God? What are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I share all of that this morning to say this. I'm not talking about Israel. Because whenever we choose sin over God, we're doing the exact same thing that Jeremiah confronted here. What do I mean by that? Well, in verse 13, Jeremiah closes this section off by saying this: "My people have committed two sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and they've dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water." When we choose sin, we are turning away from the living water, and we are embracing empty wells. We are choosing to reject the continual source of life, and we're embracing a well that won't hold water. This is an incredible picture that the Lord paints. Take a look at this next picture. This is an ancient well. A cistern meant to hold water, but it's empty because it has cracks in it. The well cannot hold water. And as hard as the people work to fill the well, the water will constantly drain out through the cracks. Sin causes us to exchange the free gift of life that God offers, a life of constant supply and health, for a life of continual empty labor with nothing to show for it. Take a look at this cartoon. "Hey, I know how we can get water. I'll just hold this pot I made while you make it rain." Yeah! Wait, what? And that's exactly what God's people do. This is what sin is. No matter what sin you are being tempted by, it is a cracked well that will suck life out of you. It may seem to offer you everything you want, but it will turn out to be an empty well with no water to give. Now turn with me over to James chapter 1 if you have your Bibles. In verses 13 to 16, the brother of Jesus makes this comment. He says, "When tempted," not if, when. "No one should say, 'God is tempting me.' For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does He tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desires and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters." Tell me something this morning. What is the difference between trial and temptation? A trial is something that comes at you. A temptation is something that comes out of you. What do I mean by that? Well, John 16:33, Jesus said this: "In this world you will have trouble." Troubles and trials are things that come against you. They are obstacles that you will face. They are attacks that you will deal with. They are hurdles that you have to get over, and they are tests that you have to pass. Which is why in James chapter 1, verses 2 and 3, he says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Trials and troubles are outward forces coming to bear against you. Now, sometimes they take the form of other people. Sometimes they take the form of family, or work, or difficulties that arise because of your faith, or persecution, or sickness. But they always originate from outside of you. Temptation is not like that. Temptation is a result of what is inside of you. Your desires, your weaknesses, your struggles, your old nature. We live in a world that tries oh so hard to pass the buck on this. But James is very clear when he says, each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. In my own life, I know exactly how this works. From a very young age, I struggled with the issue of pornography. All through my teen years and even into my early adult life, it was a constant thorn in my side and a barrier between me and God. It is still a weakness that the enemy tries to make use of, and I know how subtle and conniving he is. He has led me through the maze of where sin will take you. I have tried justifying my sin. I have blamed others for it. I have made excuses for why I needed it. And like everyone who chooses sin over God, I found it to be an empty well, and I was left thirsty and tired and ashamed and full of guilt. And this is where James's bluntness is such a needed commodity in our day and age. We try to blame everyone else. Oh, my parents taught me this. Oh, it's genetic. I come from a family of addicts. We even go so far as to say, well, God made me this way. Wow, we hear that one a lot these days, don't we? God made me this way, so he must be okay with it. But James says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. And in case we missed it, he makes it even more broad and more clear by saying, God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. You can say what you want, but God is not to blame for your temptation. You can try to look for someone to come alongside and go, Emmanuel, it's okay, it's not your fault. But then you go into the Bible, and guess what it says? It's your fault. There's only one person to blame for your temptations, and you see him in the mirror. He's you. Now, I would suggest if you're looking for who it is to blame about your temptations, don't invite your spouse to come into the bathroom and look in the mirror too, because then you'll go, it's over. That's not good. Because we do that. And we look at Adam and Eve. God goes, Adam, what did you? Adam goes, the woman did it. Eve, what did you do? The devil did it. The only one willing to man up was the devil. It's pretty sad, isn't it? It is our fault because each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Whose evil desire? Our own. You are the source of your temptation, and when temptation comes, we have to make a choice: God or sin. And here is where we spin back to what Jeremiah said in verse 13. My people have committed two sins. Okay, so first off, do you realize that when you choose your sin, you're actually not committing one mistake, you're committing two. Wow, suddenly things are ballooning a little bit more than we thought to begin with. What are the two sins? Well, we choose sin. That's our first sin. The other sin is that we choose sin over God. We reject the eternal, the worthy, the faithful, the loving, the merciful, the blessing and providing and forgiving God for sins that are worthless, temporary, empty, meaningless, momentary, and unsatisfying. So James has some advice for us. He has advice for us that he gave 2,000 years ago who were people doing the same things then as we're doing today. He was speaking to people back then who lusted, who gossiped, who were proud and arrogant, who were rebellious, who stole, who were lazy, who were murderous, who were bitter, who were gay, who were confused about their gender. Oh, you think that's new? Ask Nero. He dressed his boyfriend up as a girl and tried to parade her through the city streets. You think it's new? There's nothing new under the sun. He spoke to people who were addicts, who were liars, and everything else that we think is so new and unusual. His advice is the same today because people are the same and sin is the same. His advice is simple. Don't be deceived. In John 8:32, Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And then just a few verses later in 8:44, Jesus said this about the devil. He said, when he lies, he speaks his native language because he is a liar and he's the father of lies. He is the deceiver. And he loves to dangle our weakness in front of our faces. One moment, he dangles beauty. Then he dangles power. And then fame and then wealth. He knows our areas of weakness and he switches them up, trying to wear us out, wearing us down until our defenses finally crumble and we grab the bait. Don't be deceived. While the devil is the tempter, temptation is rooted in us. It's our evil desire that he dangles in front of us. It's not his stuff. It's ours. Our flesh longs for stuff. Our old man, our old sinful selves, craves and desires and longs for things that look good and taste good and smell good and appear to be just what we want. But those things are broken wells. They don't satisfy. They bring shame, they bring pain, and as James says in verse 15, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. Hear me this morning. Desire is not sin. It's not. But when we, like a fish, grab that hook of temptation, the enemy fights with us, trying to draw us into sin. Unfortunately, most of the time, the fight doesn't last very long. We tire quickly, and then we're pulled into sin. And if we don't pull away again back to the safety of Christ, that sin will continue to grow and grow until, as James puts it, when it's fully grown, it gives birth to death. Your sin will result in death. Now, I don't mean that it will kill you, although many times that is actually the case. I come from an alcoholic home. Okay, at 56, my mom decided to quit drinking after 40 years of hard drinking. And the doctors told my wife and I that she was lying in ICU, that she was going to die. And I'm very grateful that a lot of people prayed and God worked a miracle. But she should have died. That was the year my wife and I got married. And if you saw our wedding video, you would see a lady who looks like she was 80 plus. She shook when she walked. She was unsteady. She looked gaunt and thin. My kids, when they see that, don't even recognize their own grandmother. Praise God, she's healthier today than she ever was before. But sin can even result in death. But that's not what James is talking about. James is talking about the death that separation from God causes. You see, God is holy, and he cannot abide with sin. And so when we are walking in that pattern of sin, we are separated from God. And if that is not fixed through repentance, the end result is eternal separation from God, which we call hell. What is your empty cistern? What are the areas that the tempter dangles in front of you on a regular basis? Friends? Yeah, they can be a temptation. Family? Oh yeah, they can definitely be a desire. Wealth? Aren't we prone to workaholism? Power? Everybody likes a little bit of control. Fame? Well, nobody wants to be overlooked. Pride? I don't need anybody's help. Rebellion? I'm not going to be under you. There are so many things that can be dangled in front of us, and the world and the enemy and even other people make them look so attractive. We have a teacher in our school here in Stepford that every year informs his students about their rights. What? You think your parents can punish you? No. Here are your rights. Feeding into teenage rebellion. A friend of mine that I had coffee with, his son was in that class, and he came home and he goes, "You can't make me do chores. I know my rights." So his dad went down and talked to the RCMP and said, "Okay, well, my kid now knows his rights, what am I?" And so he went home to his son, and his son, walking around like the king chicken in the pen. And he walked up and he goes, "You're right. You have some rights. You know what I have the right? I have the right to only give you one set of underwear. I don't have to give you two. I have the right to only give you one place to sleep. It doesn't have to be a room. Right now the doghouse is empty, son. I have the right to say, I'm not driving you anywhere. That's a privilege. That's not a right. I have the right to only give you one meal a day. Law doesn't say I have to give you three. And you know those snacks you love so much? Kiss them goodbye." Suddenly his son was going, "You know what? Maybe my rights don't look nearly as nice as my privileges. But privileges come with responsibility." You see, the enemy loves to dangle your rights in front of you, but he doesn't ever tell you the consequences to those rights up front. It's always a, "Hey, pay us $300. And guess what we'll do? We'll milk you for all it's worth." You see, there's so many things that the enemy dangles in front of us. It's kind of like some of the fruit that we get in the wintertime. Last winter, my wife brought home these absolutely gorgeous looking oranges. The color was good, the feel was good, the smell was good, but when I got inside, they were dry. There was like no juice in them. It was like eating dust. Not only did I get torqued off at the fact that, I wanted this orange, but now I wanted oranges. I had a taste of something, but I didn't get satisfied. I didn't get what I wanted. And that's exactly what sin does. It looks good, it smells good, it feels good, but it leaves you empty and wanting the real thing. Because you see, that is why our choosing sin breaks God's heart. Because He's the real thing, baby. He is the genuine satisfier. He is the piece that fits your puzzle. And like He says in Jeremiah, "I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and its rich produce. Like a groom who lavishes his bride with treasures and banquets and holidays and love. He longs to bless us and provide for us and care for us. But over and over and over again, we choose other things over Him. And it breaks His heart. Don't be deceived. You can't blame the devil. You can't blame your parents. Matter of fact, I should ask every teenager to repeat that after me. You can't blame your parents. Matter of fact, I should ask every adult to say that after me too. You can't blame your parents. Hope my parents can hear that. You can't even blame your environment, because the Bible makes it very clear it's our fault. We're the ones who choose sin over God. We're the ones who choose. We have a choice. So let's choose the spring of living water. Let's choose the bread of life, because you know what? We can't blame the devil, but we can resist him. James 4:7 says, "Submit yourselves to God, resist the devil, and he will flee." But understand, there is a reason for the order that James uses here. The devil won't flee unless you resist him. But you can't resist him until you first submit to God. We live in a world that is in this constant state of rebellion. We rebel against our leadership. We rebel against parents. We rebel against police officers. We rebel against laws. No, I don't. Okay, let me ask you something. Having just come from Germany, I know how real this is. How many of you struggle with the word maximum over the 50? Come on, you know what I mean. We call it lead foot syndrome. Oh no, I'm just in a hurry. How many of you struggle with crossing the street at a crosswalk on Main Street? Yeah, thank you, Dave, for your honesty. The rest of you are liars. Our town, our people, our world is rebellious. God says, don't do this. We do it anyway. God says, don't go there. We go there anyway. But James 4:7 makes it clear that if we are not submitting ourselves to God, we can't resist the devil. And he won't flee if we don't resist. The submission requires surrender, repentance, and a death to my ways, my desires, my longings, my wants. But why would I submit like that? Because of the love that God has for us. Let's choose to live in the extravagant love that God offers, which he outlines in 1 Corinthians 13. He says, love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But here's the kicker. 1 John 4:8 says this. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. So really, we can rewrite 1 Corinthians to say this. God is patient. God is kind. God does not envy. God does not boast. God is not proud. God does not dishonor others. God is not self-seeking. God is not easily angered. God keeps no record of wrong. Some of you need to write that down. God keeps no record of wrongs. Yeah, but he just wants to sit in heaven and judge me. God keeps no record of wrongs. God does not delight in evil, but he rejoices with the truth. God always protects. Why do I feel abandoned? God always protects. God always trusts. God always hopes. God always perseveres. God never fails. This is who we get to choose. This is why we submit to him. This is who is madly in love with us. This is who our groom is. Why would we ever turn to sin instead of him? This is why we should fix our eyes on Jesus and not let the tempter win. We should be willing to resist even to the point of death, as Hebrews 12:4 says. Why? I'll tell you why. Jesus is better. He is better, period. He's better than your friends. He's better than your spouse. He's better than your family. He's better than your job. He's better than any person or any place or anything. He is better. And if we can hold on to that truth, then we will stop choosing empty, broken cisterns over God, and we will instead run into his arms, where we will find what our hearts really need. I'm going to ask you to bow your heads with me today. Some of you have chosen empty wells. Some of you have chosen broken cisterns. Some of you have chosen worthless idols. But God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God does not keep a record of wrongs. And if you come to him through his Son Jesus today, you can be forgiven. Father, this morning, I pray that you would search our hearts. Because all of us are prone to wander. All of us are prone to stray. All of us, oh God, choose the things that are dangled in front of us at times instead of choosing you. And I pray, Father, this morning that you would forgive us for those times when we are choosing other things over you. We don't want to do it. Strengthen us in our inner man this morning, in our inner being, that we might know the deep, abiding, real love of Jesus Christ. Because as we heard this morning, our time is short. Whether it's a semi-truck going through an intersection or Jesus coming back, our time is short. No one is guaranteed it tomorrow. No one is guaranteed it next year. That's why your word says that we're to be ready. So, Father, this morning, if there's anyone here who has not given their life to Christ, and you realize now that you've been choosing the wrong thing, if that's you, I want you to just slip your hand up, and I want to be able to pray for you. Amen. Maybe you have been choosing things other than God. You've been choosing it your way. You've been demanding your rights instead of laying them down. Maybe you know that you have been choosing the cardboard cutout instead of the real God. If that's you, I want you to slip your hand up because I want to be able to pray for you. Father, this morning, you have seen these hands. We don't want the counterfeit. We want the real Jesus. We want a real faith in a real God. sealed with a real Holy Spirit coming in and making a real difference in our lives. We don't want to be people who simply hear the Word of God. We want to be people who do it. So, Father, I pray for healing in those that have seen God only as a judge. I pray for conviction over those who have traded God for cutout. I pray, Father, for correction for those who have chosen to only want a thimbleful of God and not the full package. I pray this morning, God, for anyone here who has not laid down their life before Christ. Father, I pray that you give us ears to hear, give us eyes to see, and soften our hearts so that we might know the Savior and know that if we died today, we would go to heaven. Your word makes that very clear. These things have been written that you may know that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. It's written right there so that we may know. And it's imperative that we do. Jesus, I pray that you convict us, continue to transform us. And thank you. Thank you that you continue to persevere, and thank you that you continue to love, even when we prove to be unfaithful. The song is right. How great thou art. Scott, I would invite you and the team to just come up and lead us in that song as we close this morning. If you want someone to pray with you this morning, I am going to be up here at the front. And I'm going to ask Robert to come and join me at the front. And I'm going to ask Albert to come and join me at the front. If you need healing, if you need prayer, or maybe you just need someone to come alongside and say, it's not your fault. Sorry, we won't do that because it is. But we would be happy to pray with you and make sure that that fault is dealt with and not crushed under the carpet anymore. So we've got one song to sing, and then we